and welcome to another edition of Vinto's Wolfman. Why am I speaking Geordie? Because I'm here to talk about Auf Wiedersehen Pet, man. That's enough to do with that. So, hello, in case you didn't understand what I said there. Welcome to Vinto's Vault, where today we're going to be entering the vault looking at the iconic 80s classic Auf Wiedersehen Pet. Obviously, this was something that was rebirthed, but we'll get onto that later on down the line. But yeah, this was done by Dick Clements and Ian Lafreniere, who had done such TV shows such as Porridge, Likely Lads, to name but a few. But Porridge is probably their most iconic one, with the great Ronnie Barker, and obviously David Jason stars in that as well, and Christopher Biggins too, so we may touch on that at some stage way down the line with another video. But yeah, so I'm here to talk to you about Auf Wiedersehen Pet, and I have the series here. So these, I got these years ago whenever they first came out, so obviously these look like their lunchbox that they would take with them to work. So it has different characters in it, obviously, so they're the Magnificent Seven. So let's see if I can, wonder if they're on individual ones. Well, I suppose it's probably just as easier to get this way here. So this, I think it's got like something like 13 episodes. So we have here the main photo. So we have Dennis Patterson, played by Tim Healy, the late great Gary Holton, who played Wayne Winston Norris, Christopher Fairbank, who you may recognise with a couple of things which we'll get onto shortly, who played Albert Moxey. Jimmy Neal, this is like his first acting job, who played Leonard Oz Osborne. Pat Roach, who was a wrestler, played Bomber, Brian Bosbridge, I think his name is. We have Timothy Spall, who plays Barry Taylor, and Kevin Whately, who plays the wet-nursed Neville Hope. So these are the Magnificent Seven. Basically start off with Dennis, Oz, and Neville travelling from Newcastle to go to Germany to get some work, because there's these new work back at home, like. So there are three Geordies, and they encounter Wayne on their way, and Barry as well. Because they've run late, because Oz's car breaks down, they end up being stuck in like a hut, which effectively becomes like the 8th character in the series. And then the likes of, they run into Bomber, and obviously he's massive, and you just hear like Dennis whenever he sees him like looking up and down. And then Moxie is one who comes later on, and they were going to have him play a different kind of role voice wise, and he said, well, I can be like somebody from Liverpool if you want. So obviously Timothy Spall plays somebody from Birmingham, Bomber's like from West Country, Wayne is from London, and Moxie's from Liverpool. Obviously Oz just calls Wayne London the majority of the times. He goes like, "Oi, London!" So yeah, so the first series that came out in 1983. Obviously I was only 5 whenever it first came out. I have a memory from the second series. Obviously whenever it came out I would have been a little bit older, but it was in 1986. So I would have been, I would have been 8 then, I think. So I do remember one scene in particular from that. So yeah, this also stars a very, very young Ray Winston, who plays Colin, who's a runaway from the army. He plays in, what episode is that he's in? Not that. It's not that one. Would have to be this last one here, wouldn't it? The Fugitive, that's what they are. Yeah. So yeah, it's just, obviously the writing on this is just outstanding. It still is quite comedic. Obviously there's certain things nowadays where you look back on, you'd be like, oh, you couldn't get away with that now. But that's just a lot of the things from way back when, is that, you know, like it's a different world now than it was in the 80s, and sometimes I wish that we could travel back in the 80s and live in the world then. But this is just something that if I'm feeling a bit blue, or I just want to cheer myself up, or if I just want to put on something that I really, really enjoy watching, then it will be Auf Wiedersehen Pet. So that's the first series there. The second season is basically starts off where Barry is going to get married to his girlfriend Hazel, and he's trying to get his house back together and get his house finished before the wedding, and he can't, so he puts out like an SOS call to everyone, and that's how they all come together. It then turns into where Dennis is working for a villain called Ali Fraser, played by the great Bill Patterson, who was in like one of the Matt Smith's Doctor Who episodes, the Dalek one. I think it was his third episode, Victory of the Daleks, I want to say. And he's great as Ali Fraser in this. So basically Dennis owes him a lot of money and says, like, if you get the guys to go up to Thorney Manor to help rebuild that, our debt's clear. And so he does that, and there's a lot of just fun things to do with the Barley Mow and Arthur Tiger Pringle. But the second season, especially that part, is probably my favourite scenes from Auf Wiedersehen Pet. There's a scene in it wherever, I don't want to say too much, but there's a scene where they find a videotape and they've been banned from the bar, and Wayne goes in and says, Mr. Arthur Tiger Pringle, this is your life, and the guys in the background all make the This Is Your Life theme tune where they go da 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 da, and for some reason that always stuck in my head whenever I was a kid. I don't know whether it was something we watched later on and then I'd sing. And then the later part of the series they end up going to Spain. Sadly though, Gary Holton had some drug issues, that he was taking a lot of drugs and things like that, so he doesn't appear in the Spain episodes that much, and I think they actually had to go and film some of that without him, because there's scenes wherever, I'll put that down, there's scenes wherever they're in the restaurant and he says, where's Wayne? Oh, he's chatting up a local such and such, you know, like he's chatting somebody up. But yeah, so unfortunately during the process of doing this he passed away, and they had to try and get this finished without him, which I'm sure would have been very difficult. So yeah, you've got like 4 discs. Obviously we see Oz then whenever they're in before they go to Spain, he tries to reconnect with his son, and his son appears in later ones as well. So that's the second season. You can also get the music for Auf Wiedersehen Pet. This was done by Joe Fagan, who did the first. I've only ever heard his music just to do with their Auf Wiedersehen Pet. I haven't heard his music to do with anything else. So you have like 29 tracks on this, so it has basically the opening and closing titles for each season. And you do have like other parts, you know, like say Blues for Wayne or Barry and Hazel's Impending Nuptials. So you have like quite a lot of music from that, and it's just something that, this came out, what, 1996? So this came out a good while after these did, you know. And then you just have the iconic Auf Wiedersehen Pet. If you're wondering why it's called Auf Wiedersehen Pet, because Auf Wiedersehen obviously means goodbye in German, and pet is an affectionate term, as in from Geordie, but like, why I pet? It's just like, it's just an affectionate term, so that's why it was called Auf Wiedersehen Pet, just in case you're wondering, why is it called that? Also, it's a nightmare to try and learn to spell at times as well. So, years upon years that, you know, like, because my father had actually met Tim Healy. He used to work in a hotel, like the Culloden Hotel, which is basically our Northern Ireland's like 5-star hotel, and that's basically where people would come and stay to then do a chat show in Belfast. And he talked to Tim Healy because obviously this was one of my dad's favourite TV shows. There's actually, where my father passed away, the last words that I said to him were, you know, like in my speech was, and there's only one way to sum this up, and it was like Auf Wiedersehen Pet, because he loved that show so much. So, so what's my point? Yeah, so he had met Tim Healy and asked him if they were ever going to do a 3rd season, and I had thought about it, but I think because Gary Holton passed away that they didn't really want to do that. But then some years later, I think 2002, I want to say, yeah, 2002, we had this one, which is basically them all together. So you can see there, that there's only 6 of them. So obviously Wayne's not there because Wayne, unfortunately, Gary Oldman passed away. So Wayne was replaced with Wyman, who was Wayne's son, and he was played by Noel Clarke. Noel Clarke, who I actually met. Hopefully I put that photo there. Yeah, so I met him at a London Comic Con. You can see here in the back. So we have we have Bill Nighy. He was terrific in it, and I can't remember this guy's name, but he was in Dances with Wolves, because there's actually a part wherever the guy says to him, you know, Dances with Wolves is one of our favourite movies, and that's kind of putting that into context there. So this is just a riot from start to finish. To see how some of them have been since way back whenever they finished in Spain together, and coming back now, you know, like Bomber's doing this and that. Neville has his own company, but he's got VAT issues. Dennis is like a taxi driver, but again, he's only doing that because he can't get anything else. Oz has been in prison, and that's how him and I can't remember the guy's name that Bill Nighy plays. I can't remember that, and he then gets in touch with that guy. Oh God, that's going to annoy me now. I can't remember his name, but Bill Nighy's character, and then they're going to move the Middlesbrough Transporter Bridge. They're going to sell that, and then the deal goes through, and they end up selling it to Joe, who is the guy there who lives in Arizona, and he needs it to help his dying Chocanob tribe casino. And it's just like, you know, you think that's so far-fetched, but people actually thought that they were taking the Middlesbrough Bridge down, and at the end of it, they had to put the Middlesbrough Transporter Bridge is still in Middlesbrough, because people were actually getting upset that they were actually moving it, which, all right, they don't have that much. So it's on 2 discs, and it's just, if you're a fan of the original ones and haven't seen these, I highly recommend these. Even if you have never seen Auf Wiedersehen Pet and you want to start somewhere, even if you started this, you're going to find out a bit about the characters and where they have been, and they're going to reminisce about certain stories and stuff, and it's just a really good one. So that was in 2002. Then we did get another one where they were meant to film this in Cuba, but apparently they never were able to do that, so they filmed somewhere else. I can't remember where, but they made it look like Cuba. So this was in 2004, and this is whenever they go to Cuba. So basically they're working for the British Embassy, but they're working in Cuba, so they're helping redo one of these houses up, and Oz falls in love with a ballerina, and they're getting very protective, and you know, they say that Oz can't deal with her. Ophelia, her name. Funny how I remember that name, but I can't remember Bill Nighy's character. And he falls in love with her, and basically then they have to kind of break up, and then Dennis falls in love with Wyman's mum, which she is such a character. She's probably one of the best background characters, and she's just so loud and vibrant. And it's not as good as that, but it's still really good fun to watch. Neville is an undercover spy and has to pretend to be, obviously he's a diehard Newcastle United fan, and he has to pretend to be a Manchester United fan, which for any passionate football fan, swapping to one of your heated rivals is not something you want to do very likely. And Moxie gets a guinea pig, and he starts guinea pig racing. So yeah, so there's that. Then we also had in 2004, we had like a 2-part Christmas special where basically this is her final part, and obviously sadly Pat Roach, who played Bomber, had passed away, so he's not in this at all. There's actually a really poignant scene where they're sitting around the table, and Dennis says that, oh yeah, it's the end for one of us, and that's Bomber, and says because of in the 3rd season, he kind of falls in love as well and wants to stay there with them, so he kind of packs it in, and this is kind of where they start packing it in. The end of it, though, still features Dennis, Oz, and Neville, and it's really, really well done. The music, obviously, I forgot to say, in the 3rd season is done by Mark Knopfler, is the intro thing, and I think they got Joe Fagan back to do some of the music for this one. So this is following our escape from British Embassy in Africa, besieged by rioters. The lads relocate to the Australian Embassy for the next job. Whilst at work, after all their adventures, one by one start realizing that there's more to life than being part of the gang. Because I think that's whenever, is that whenever he gets, yeah, I think that's wherever Barry gets kidnapped and then they have to go and try and find him. It's enjoyable enough to watch. It's nowhere near as good, but this is kind of their final adventure. We did have as well in, whenever this was, 2013, I want to say, because this was the Mark the 30th anniversary special. There was a documentary that came out. Basically, there was a character in it, and he passed away due to cancer, and was really good friends with Tim Healy and Jimmy Neal, and they set up a Sunday for Sammy Trust, where basically every year they would put like actors together, and that's how Auf Wiedersehen Pet Series 3 came about, really. And they're all basically talking about this. Obviously, you have Timothy Spall talking, Christopher Fairbank. He sounds so posh, it's not even funny. Jimmy Neal, Kevin Whately, and Tim Healy, and they're all talking about their experiences in Auf Wiedersehen Pet and what it means to them. And you get the writers who talk about it as well. And if you can find this, if you're a fan of the show and you don't know that this existed, I really, really recommend you watch this. I think it lasts for about an hour and a half or so, 105 minutes. But it's just great to watch, especially if you want to know more stories about this. I'm not done yet though, because there is a great book called That's Living Alright, which just chronicles up to season 3 of Auf Wiedersehen Pet. It's got some great pictures in it, some great behind the scenes stories, and it's just such a good read. And like, this is a book that I'll happily, there's Barry and Hazel getting married, which they eventually do. But it's just great to read. It's great to just flick through, and it's just, if you're a fan of the show, there's just so many things that, oh, there we are, Granger, that's his name. Yeah, the guy Bill Nighy plays. Thank you, book. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if this is still readily available. Whenever this first came out, how much was it? $16.99. So if you are a fan of Auf Wiedersehen Pet and you want to have some light reading, it's not that big a book. I've read it, so. But lastly, one of the things that my father got for me, and it's something that I always hold dear, and I'm just going to show you these here, is some autographs. So these are from people that have actually been in Auf Wiedersehen Pet. So we're going to start off with Christopher Fairbank, who obviously is in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the guy in the original Batman movie. He says, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm Batman." That's who that is. So it just says to Christopher, good luck and best wishes, Christopher Fairbank. We do have Tim Healy here as well, which says to Christopher, best wishes, Tim Healy. We have Pat Roach, where you can see there, if you can, it just says to Christopher, Pat Roach, just says best wishes. The whole like best wishes. We do have Kevin Whately. I love this one. It says for Christopher, cheers, Pet. And it says Kevin Whately. And I do have Timothy Spall, which says best wishes, Timothy Spall. I would love to get Jimmy Neal's autograph, because then if I got Jimmy Neal's autograph, I should have got Noel Clarke's whenever he was at a convention, but I had so much going on. He kind of faded in the background, so I've got a photo with him, so that's kind of there. If I was able to get Jimmy Neal and Noel Clarke's autograph, I would have the complete 6 or 7 of them then. Which would be great. So I'll have to think about ways and means of doing that. So yes, this has gone on a bit longer than I anticipated, but I hope you've enjoyed our journey down the town, man, because the fucking town's all mine and mine. I also want to just end this before we, at the end of the video, Jimmy Neal in the 2nd season starts singing, because obviously then later on he does like Crocodile Shoes, Spender, Crocodile Shoes he does the intro music for. But he did have a #1 hit called Ain't No Doubt, and I'm going to put a little clip of that whenever I finish talking. So just if you want to hear Jimmy Neal sing, you can do. If you don't want to hear Jimmy Neal sing, then that's fine too. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed our trek down Newcastle, Germany, Spain, Cuba, Arizona, etc., Middlesbrough. I hope you've enjoyed our trip down there. I've enjoyed doing this here. And I love getting these comments saying that my passion is showing through in these videos. It really, really does mean a lot to me. And it shows that I'm interested in what I'm talking about and not going, I probably do still do that, because I always did that whenever I was podcasting. But I always like to do this on one take and not do any edits, because I'm lazy that way. So yeah, next time I'm not sure what I'm going to do because I have a couple of ideas and I don't want to say anything in case it doesn't come up. So next time there will be a video, but what it's going to be, you'll just have to wait and find out. It might be a whole video. It might be something to do with one of my animated sets, actually 2 of my animated sets, because I have ideas for both of them, but I'm just waiting for other things to arrive to then give it the best that I can do. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, why